Hi, welcome back to Business Ethics. My name's Tom, and in this unit, we will talk about chapter 3 of our text. I won't have a whole lot to say about this chapter. Most of it is concerned with simply laying out a number of common ethical infractions that happen in business, right? And so it's just good to go through the chapter and look at the list and read the descriptions of them just so we kind of are aware of what these common ethical grievances are and ethical issues and how they arise. And then as we move forward with the course, we'll talk about some of the more underlying causes and conditions. But at the beginning of the chapter, I do want to touch on these three ethical concepts that they mention: integrity, honesty, and fairness. These are pretty common sense concepts, ethical concepts. I think we all have pretty good working knowledge of them to some degree, but it is important to kind of mention them and just state a little bit about how they can be really important concepts, and they're maybe a little bit deeper than we might realize. Um, Starting with integrity, a lot of times people use the definition doing the right thing even when no one's looking, this kind of thing. And the idea behind that saying is that integrity is really about consistency and maintaining a unified position, right? The person has integrity when they are consistent about their actions and what they say and what they do. Um, Integrity is really important for a lot of businesses, right? Because a lot of businesses want to offer consistency with their customer service or with their product, so on and so forth. And it is particularly important for companies that are pretty large, right? When we move forward, we will look at, I believe, is the code of conduct for Coca-Cola. And I think they formed their whole code of conduct around this idea of integrity. And it makes sense if you're a company like Coca-Cola, right? They have their hands in a lot of different businesses, and they have offices all over the world. And if you're a company of that size, you want to convey to your customers and vendors that, whether you deal with Coca-Cola in the United States or in Mexico or in, Hong Kong or whatever it is, right? You'll get the same service, right? So that can be a very, very important concept to really not just admire but employ, right? And make sure that all of your employees are very clear about those kind of policies and put them in place so that you can maintain consistency with your business. The second concept, honesty. We all pretty much know what honesty is, right? Don't lie. But it is more than just not lying, especially when you're thinking about in the context of business where you have a lot of contractual obligations, perhaps even handshake deals. You have certain expectations from your suppliers, from your consumers, from the community in which you are conducting business, and you might have factories or corporate headquarters or whatnot. Honesty really has to do with being forthright and your actions and your words, right? So there are ways to be dishonest without technically lying. You can just omit certain information. You can say certain things at certain times, right? You can prevent yourself from looking into a particular issue, so that you can claim that you didn't know that something was going on or whatnot. These are all aspects of honesty. And so looking at these different facets of the way honesty kind of plays out in a very practical way is really important for business, but also in life. Um, And fairness is the third concept here. Um, you know, fairness also has to do with consistency, and it has to do with equality, right? And it has to do with having objective standards for how you treat people, and fairness, really means that, if someone, breaks the rules, they have certain consequences. And it doesn't matter if they're a ground level employee or an executive or a VP. Right. That's the kind of thing. Also, fairness has to do with other uh, notions or concerns about equality when it comes to gender and race and all kinds of other things. Um, so it really has to do with treating everyone the same. And obviously, when you're running a business and you have something like a corporate structure, and you have all kinds of employees, or even if you're a small business where you feel like you have a very personal relationship with the people who are working there, fairness is an issue, right? It has to do with, trying to maintain that sense of equality, and employing everything kind of equally to everyone when it comes to consequences, and also, bonuses and all kinds of the positive incentives as well. So, um, these are important. And when you look at the ethical infractions, and they talk about fraud, and they talk about, embezzlement and all kinds of other different things, ask yourself which of these three principles it is violating. Right. Usually it's violating one or maybe even two, but there is usually one that it is the biggest kind of violation of. So, for example, fraud would definitely be like an honesty issue, right? But also, when you look at those to kind of anticipate where we're going with things and the underlying causes and conditions, um, try to really think and sympathize with people who commit these acts. I know it's not the easiest thing to do, but you know. Um, Things like fraud, for example, don't happen in a vacuum, right? If you remember, there was a recent Wells Fargo scandal where they were opening up thousands of accounts for people without their knowledge of it. How does that happen at such a large scale, that kind of fraud? Um, well, it's probably has something to do with the culture there. And oftentimes these things happen somewhat organically, right? Someone opens up an account and realizes they can do it, and someone else they end up getting a bonus for it, and someone else sees it, and then middle management looks the other way with one person or another, and it just kind of builds upon itself, right? And then some of these things are pretty complex when it comes to like insider trading and uh, corporate espionage and all these kinds of things. So, it's not always clear cut. I really want to encourage you to kind of look for the gray space, because that's what you need to focus on if you want to have an effective ethics program. Right? If you want to be able to head off these problems, you need to kind of think about them in a more nuanced way. It's very easy to see someone do something bad and to just say that what they did was wrong. It's harder to try to anticipate when people are going to do bad things and create a business that model that will actually prevent those things from happening. So, anyways, that's it for today, and we'll be talking again soon.